Last night we saw an unwitting victim fall for a fishy trap, caught by the Finny Fiends. Umbrellas, the sign of the penguin. The caped crusaders on the trail. A brainwashed butler. He remembered nothing. Batman was baffled. The meeting of the millionaires and their worthy causes. Could they be part of a penguin plot? A clue. Send the dynamic duo to a fishing pier. Alone in a forest of umbrellas. Beware, Batman. Too late. Into the vacuum tank. Less air. Less. And when the last balloon bursts, wait, the last gasp is yet to come.
Welcome back, citizens, to an all-new episode of the Batcave podcast. It's your old bat chum, John S. Drew here. And guess what? It's the end of the first season. This is it, the last episode of the first season. You know, I was just remarking today on Facebook how when I started this podcast, I wasn't sure I was actually going to go the long distance because I was hesitant about where this show could go, what I was going to really talk about, because we're getting into that era there now where things are going to start repeating itself. But I'm finding as I'm watching these episodes, there is so much more in the way of gems among the roughage. This really was a wonderful show, and this first season was truly a great first season. And we're winding this one up with our final story here. We've got the Penguin coming in for Finny Finks and Batman Makes the Scenes. An odd kind of title because usually they rhymed a lot better in the earlier episodes. This story aired May 4th and 5th, 1966 on the ABC network. The synopsis briefly: Alfred, the faithful butler of Wayne Manor, is kidnapped by the Penguin and brainwashed to reveal the whereabouts of the multi-millionaire's annual award dinner. Now, that's just the brief synopsis. We're going to be talking about this in more detail. And in fact, I've brought in someone very special for this last episode of the first season. He's an old friend of mine, an old friend of the Chronic Rift Network and the Chronic Rift podcast and public access show. And he is one huge Batman fan. How big a fan? I'm going to let him explain in just a couple of moments. But first, let me introduce you to Mr. Mike Fichera. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Walloping web snappers. Hello, John. Oh, sorry. My primary love is Spider-Man. But yes, I do have an affection for Batman. Hello, John. How are you? I had to sneak in a Spider-Man thing right away. Zing.
So does this mean if I do the Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man podcast, you're in?
Oh, I'm totally in. I'm totally in. Well, it's funny. I was just looking back on as I'm listening to Adam West's voice. It reminds me of the Spider-Man cartoons of the 1960s. It seemed like whenever Peter Parker would put on the mask and sound like and turn into Spider-Man, his voice would kind of take on an Adam West kind of a timbre to it. You know, that deep, serious voice of almost monotone. I am Spider-Man. I wonder if that was just the thing of the time of the 60s. I don't know.
That's an interesting note. I wonder if maybe they took their audio cue from Adam West.
Yeah, like that was a superhero voice. You must talk deep and steady and sound confident, you know, like Adam West did. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Just diverting the conversation back to Spider-Man like I'm apt to do. But I am a Batman lover as well, so.
Well, you are a Batman lover because you did something quite crazy at a screening of the Michael Keaton, the first Batman movie, way back in 1989?
Well, it was the second one. I wasn't inspired until after I saw the first one.
Okay.
That I did my crazy stunt for Batman Returns. You don't want me to actually talk about it, do you?
Oh, I love this story. Are you kidding me? I mean, you dressed up as Batman on our public access show as well. Came out on stage.
I did.
Yes.
I did. But nobody knew it was me. You know, I was in disguise. So what happened was I saw the first Michael Keaton Batman movie in '89, and I loved it. And I had so many misgivings going into it. Oh, Michael Keaton, and, you know, why? Mr. Mom, no. But I was totally enamored, and the Joker was phenomenal, and it was just couldn't believe how good the movie turned out to be. And at the time, I was sold. You know, Keaton worked. For those of us who grew up with the Adam West, Burt Ward, Batman and Robin, there was no Robin in the movies, and no mention of Robin at all. And so here comes the second movie, and I was like, oh, maybe Robin will make a guest appearance here. There'll be some cameo. I heard already before the movie came out that no, there was no Robin cast for this one. So I had acquired a Michael Keaton Batman costume. My parents were fond of going to the various garage sales on Saturday mornings, and my father had called and said, I guess I was in college at the time, he said, we found a Batman costume at a garage sale. Are you interested? And I was like, yes, get it! And it was really high quality, a great cowl and a cape and the gloves and the spats and the belt. I mean, it was perfect. Came in this hard plastic box, and he got it for dirt cheap, $20 or something like that. And the costume, I'm sure, was over $100 for the whole deal. So I was like, well, what do I do with this now? You know, I was at an age where I was starting to, I guess, find my testosterone, I'll say. I was starting to get some guts. I was very shy as a child, and I was starting to try some things that were a little more adventurous. So the first thing I did was I dressed up like Freddy Krueger while I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street. And as the movie ended, I slipped on the mask and the hat and the gloves, and I stood up in the theater and chased everybody out. And got away with it. And I was like, what a thrill. That was great. You know, and I didn't get arrested. I was like, oh, it worked. And we kind of drove around the neighborhood as Freddy, and I was waving to people in cars and stuff. So when the second Batman movie came out, Batman Returns, I'm like, how am I going to do this with the Bat costume? It was a little harder sneaking the Bat costume into a theater compared to Freddy, which I just kind of tucked the mask in my jacket. So I came in with a bag, and nobody asked to search bags. I guess life was less paranoid back then. And so I had the cowl in my shopping bag as if I was out, you know, at the mall or something. And I had the cape and everything under my jacket and the gloves in my pockets. So as the movie's going on, about, I guess, 10 minutes before the end, I started dressing and undressing, you know, in the theater seats to start turning into Batman while watching. My friends were there to cover me. We were in, I think it was Paramus, New Jersey. I had my friend Rob with me, my college roommate, as my getaway car. And the plan was basically just to walk out as Batman from the theater and just head to the car and go home. That was it. So bit by bit, I got the cape, I got the gloves, I got everything on except for the cowl. The credits are rolling, and I pop on the cowl, and I'm sure, like, behind me, you know, I was pretty far in the front of the theater. You see the silhouette of the bat ears. And I'm like, all right, guys, here it goes. And I stood up, and I turned around to face the audience with my cape spread open. I went, where's Robin? And I just start marching at the theater going, Robin! Where's Robin? Have you seen Robin? You know, and people were either laughing at me or laughing with me. I remember the usher was just like, whoa, where'd you come from? You know? And then as I started approaching, getting near the lobby, I saw a bunch of young hooligans start to say, hey, nice job. And they're thinking like I was paid by the theater. And I faced someone, this is not a job. This is a duty. And they're like, yeah, let's take Batman out and kick his rear end. Yeah, and I was like, uh-oh. Suddenly this turned into a deadly twist here. And so I was like, I got to make a run for it. So I bolted out of the theater, and I'm running, you know, for my life. And I get to the parking lot, and I hear people either laughing at me or I was just in confusion because you can't see that well in the costume. I mean, your peripheral vision's shot. And so I'm in Paramus. I'm looking for our car. All the cars look the same until I finally find it, and I'm hiding in my Bat costume with my cape kind of over my head, hiding behind the car, ducking, waiting for my friends to get back there. Take me home! Take me home! I don't want to get beat up. I'm not ready for combat. So yeah, I was a little unprepared for the possibility of young ruffians looking to make a mark on taking down the Batman. So that was the story. It was great fun, and I'm glad I did it. And I kind of said never again.
Never again, but
well, well, then last year there was free comic day at my comic store, and they said, "Oh, we're gonna have a costume contest." I was like, "Well, maybe I'll show up." I didn't even think about the contest part. I just said, "Well, maybe I'll show up as something." I still got the bat costume in the basement, and the cowl is getting a little worn. It's getting a little stretched. It doesn't really fit as well. It's kind of a little floppy around the nose piece. And I really like the latest Batman Begins series. So I found an awesome cowl online that was more money than I really should have spent, and it was supposedly molded from the original 3D computer information that went into Christian Bale's bat costume. Looked legit online. It's like, all right. So I asked permission, and I kind of became my Father's Day present, and I bought the cowl. And then I had my old cape, and I had my old stuff from the last costume. But I said, well, I need the armor, so I got this motorcycle armor, this chest jacket that kind of straps over that looked a little more like Christian Bale's with some shoulder pads. So I upped my costume a little bit, and I was like, kind of looking for an excuse to check it out. And so I got some black face paint I wanted to do under the eyes, so you don't see my eyes as clearly. And so the day came for free comic day, and I'm like, let's do this. I'm going to put on the costume. So first thing was kind of scary was the mask didn't fit my head that well. And I guess Christian Bale's head's a lot skinnier than mine, and I was really struggling to put that thing on. I mean, I'm stretching, and I'm pulling, and and it's still like sitting on top of my head like a chef's hat, like, oh no. I just blew all this money, and it's going to be on my mantelpiece. I can't even wear this stupid thing. So I just got to stretch it. I got to take the risk. I pulled it as far apart as I can. I pulled it straight down. I thought it was going to snap on my nose and suffocate me. I'm like, what a way to die in a bat suit on my face. How do I explain this to the kids? So once I pulled it all the way down, I was like, all right, I'm in. And it was really good. It was a really good mask. I was like, oh, this is great. So I got all suited up, and my wife Maria's there ready to take me to the mall, and we had some friends with us. So we drove over to the mall. I'm kind of slinking down the seats so nobody sees, the Batman's in the co-pilot's seat in front of the car in the minivan. And all right, so I'm going to do this. It's free comic day. So my theme, my only gag I got is that it's people giving away comics for free, and I'm going to say it's a trap. It's the Joker. It's just to make you guys give away comics for free. There is no free comic day. That's all I got. So I'm just going to run with that. So I step out of the car. I'm like, told my family, like, look, I'm just going to march in here ahead to just pretend like you don't know me. I'm just going to kind of get into character. So I started marching, and I'm marching from the parking lot towards the doors, and I just burst open the second doors, and I hear behind me, like, he's not waiting for us. Like my family's like, what's he doing? And I go past California Pizza Kitchen, and I start seeing a crowd up ahead, and I'm getting the voice. I'm getting my Christian Bale voice. And I'm like all charged up. I'm totally getting into the character, and I burst through the door, and the comic store is filled with 1 million people. And I see my friends up there at the counter, taking the orders. And I go, and it was Nick Fury. Rob, our comic store manager, was there dressed like Nick Fury. I was like, Rob, stop right away! And everyone in the store kind of stopped to look at me. I'm like, it's a trap. The Joker has got you all. It's not free comic day. Like, he's just trying to steal your comic books. Everyone needs to pay for those books. And they're like, oh no, I'm Nick Fury. It's all right. We arrested the Joker, and it truly is free comic day Batman. So we went back and forth a little bit into it, and I just kind of kept going with the grumpy Batman. I was going around the store, like going at the people, like, come on, let's fight, and there was, Link from Zelda, and then I was like posing in front of the camera, and there was this kid with his mom, and he's like, oh, will you take a picture with me, Batman? And I was like, sure. I'm like, that's your mom? And he's like, yeah, it's my mom. I'm like, you appreciate your parents. Mine are dead.
Oh, jeez.
You love your mother. And the kid's like, okay, sir. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what's wrong with me? I was like totally getting into it. There's a video. There's a guy who goes around Toronto called the Toronto Batman, and he cut his thing. He goes around going, my parents are dead. Well, my parents are dead. Give me a beef jerky. So I think I was kind of pulling in some of that vibe. So I did that for like 15 minutes, and my kids were just like, Dad, you're upstaging me. Dad, you're upstaging everyone. so that was my thrill. People didn't even know who I was. I kind of had to peek under and say, it's me. It's really me. And I won. I went after that. I went to see Iron Man 3. I'm sitting in the theater. My cell phone's ringing. I'm like, oh, it's not supposed to go off. And I get a text, saying, Mike, you won the contest. So that was my second public outing as Batman. So
it went better than the first.
It did. It did. Nobody actually beat me up, and I actually won some cash for it. So. Yeah.
Oh, cosplay nightmares, folks.
Yeah, I didn't even know I was a cosplayer, but, I would guess I was cosplaying back before it was actually a term.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about this episode with our Adam West Batman?
Yeah.
Would you ever wear his outfit?
Oh, no. I like the blackness of the Christian Bale. We're going to kind of, concealed.
And Slims.
Slims. Yeah. Right. The shadows help the mystique.
So, this episode, Alfred, we start with Alfred.
Gotham City, another fine day. But on a side street, not so fine. A small fish store. Something smells, and it's not last week's mackerel.
I mean, Alfred hasn't been used much in the last couple of episodes, so it's really cool to see him here as we open the show.
Alfred, the butler, get ready.
And he's shopping for caviar.
No, Shark. You want to warn him? Get that thing outside.
We see that Penguin's goons are in there. Why do we know it's Penguin's goons? Because they're dressed in black with their names on their shirts.
Right, that's why. Of course.
Yes, sir. Can I help you? Fresh fish today?
Well, that depends. Yeah, I ran across this handbill advertising cut-rate caviar.
Yes, sir. Right this way. The best in town.
So I hope. I shall never permit myself to serve anything but the best.
How much you need? Couple ounces? Half a pound?
20 pounds at least, my good man. A pound per guest. Now, pardon me, ladies.
And they're in a fish store. They got the fish motif going.
They got the fish motif going. But now, here's the question. How is it this time around they recognize Alfred? They know who he is.
Very mild. Now, if it's all as good as this... what's the meaning of this? Help! Police! Help! 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 I
They didn't know him the last time. They knew and learned about him the time before that he was Bruce Wayne's butler. So it's like, how is it this sort of selective memory when it comes to Alfred and Penguin? It's always been this weird thing throughout the series.
I don't know. I guess they did their research. They were looking into people who wear tuxedos very well, and that's a Penguin thing. Mm-hmm. And say, oh, look at Alfred. He's a tuxedo-wearing man. I don't know. And does caviar smell? Alfred had a particular, fondness for the caviar, and he's there smelling it, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a vegetarian. I never had caviar. I never eat, fish before." So, do you know?
I assume because it is fish eggs. I'm assuming there'd be some sort of odor to it. I mean, if it's strong, I like any fish. I guess it's not as fresh. So, but what I also was concerned with was Alfred's looking into cut rate caviar.
That's right. He has cut rate caviar in a giant barrel.
In a giant barrel, like you're getting pickles from the fair or something,
That's true. He became non-discriminating when Mr. Wayne's not looking. That's where he gets his caviar from.
And then he pockets the rest.
He pockets the rest. Only the best for you, Master Wayne.
And for that matter, I do know that caviar is very fattening. And he's like, "Oh, I'd like a pound per guest." I'm like, oh my God, they're going to gorge on caviar.
That did sound a bit extreme to me as well. I guess to get some in a doggy bag after the party. I don't know.
Take it home. It's cut rate.
It's cut rate. That's hysterical.
But it sets up everything nicely for the kidnapping because, he's underneath there's an umbrella in the caviar and such, and it drops down and they're able to knock him out and he's kidnapped,
Right. Which is a federal offense, isn't it? I think
it is a federal offense, yeah. I mean,
yes,
you could bring in the FBI, but instead, who do we bring in?
Umbrella's the absolute sign. We're dealing with that waddling pirate of plunder, the Penguin himself. Or do we deal with him?
Oh, you hit the nail right on the head, Commissioner. Oh, any ordinary crook the department can handle. But when it comes to the likes of the Penguin, why, there's only one being on Earth.
Yes, Commissioner, what is it?
Thank heavens I got you, Batman. It's the Penguin again. a kidnapping.
The Penguin, eh? Who's his victim this time?
Batman, you know Bruce Wayne, the multimillionaire, of course.
Of course.
Well, the Penguin's victim is none other than Bruce Wayne's butler, Alfred. Batman, are you there? Did you hear me?
Yes, I heard you, Commissioner. We'll join you at once.
Who is it, Bruce? Has the Penguin kidnapped someone special?
Dick, I'm afraid you better put your Latin verbs aside for the nonce. The missing man is Alfred.
Holy Wayne Manor, you don't mean our Alfred.
Yes, Dick, I mean our Alfred. To the bat pose.
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin. And we don't get a cute scene with, Bruce and Dick and Aunt Harriet or anybody, because Alfred's out of play. So now, one of them have to answer the phone. So rather than bothering with anything setting it up, we just cut right to the chase with the phone ringing and Bruce answering it and being told that Alfred is kidnapped. But what I love is there's that line when, he gets off the phone and he's like, brace yourself, Alfred has been kidnapped. And Dick's like, what, our Alfred? And you can just see almost the frustration. Yes, Dick, I mean our Alfred.
Who else? Bam! Smack in the head. That's true.
I would love to see if there was like a blooper reel like that where like Adam West was doing something like that. Yes, Dick, smack, and then they just put Biff across the screen or something.
Holy obvious Pac-Man. Now, the episode's titled Find Finny, Fiends. Do you think, I may be speculating wrong here, but do you think that is a play on the Julius Caesar Veni Vidi Vici? Find Vinny, or this is more like a Dr. Seuss and he's just alliterating here?
Well, certainly Batman used a lot of alliteration, as well as onomatopoeia in the series and such. I don't know, I do know that this is the first time that we're getting the sea, like the fish angle for the Penguin, that motif. Every other one beforehand has always been birds.
Oh, I thought it was always fish.
No,
okay.
No, there was the very last episode, he even steals the Batmobile and turns it into the Birdmobile, and he keeps referring to the Batmobile as a black raven or a black crow when it starts acting up and such. No, he's always been a bird. This is the first fish motif that we're seeing, and it'll carry on into the movie, the fish motif.
Well, but we will see later on this episode the not a fish, right? That not the little clue.
Yes, not.
So he distinguishes. He likes them. He eats them, but he is not a fish. He's a bird.
But he's not a fish,
so
exactly.
They clarify.
I liked also for this being the last, story for this season that we get a full departure scene.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
Right.
Because that wasn't in every single episode. I mean, it was put in there if time allowed for it.
Yeah, I was glad to hear that too. Because I guess I haven't watched all the episodes in a million years. When the DVD set come out, I'll be watching them avidly. But I watched this episode thinking, is this an every episode thing? Because I didn't think so. And
no.
I'm glad to hear you clarify that.
No, it's funny how they would vary it. Sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes you'd get a quick shot of them already moving towards the car. You didn't even get them coming out of the bat poles. And then sometimes there's one in the first season where it's like at the very front of the Batmobile, they've got this tight shot and they pan slowly across the Batcave. So you get a nice view of this, everything in there. And then finally the two come down, hop in the car, take off. No atomic batteries to power though. So it's always interesting, the choices they make in doing what I call the departure scene.
Nice, yeah.
The stuff in the commissioner's office, though, I've got to crack up, though, because on one hand, Batman pays O'Hara a compliment, and then by the end of the scene, he's knocking him down, because at first he's like, I congratulate you on your keen deduction. Even O'Hara's like going, what'd I do?
What'd I do, right? You figured out that umbrellas are correlated to the Penguin. Great job, O'Hara.
Great job.
Thank you. Really? Did I do something?
But then it's like, then he turns around, though, and he goes, well, we're going to go over to the fish store, and we're going to go search for clues. Oh, we got that all covered, Batman. Don't worry. He goes, no offense, but, we might find something that you failed to find. And I'm like, going, so you're already assuming he screwed up.
Right. And the best thing about it is they're happy with this. They're like, you're right. Oh, I'm so glad they're on our side because we're idiots. They're ready to high-five each other, you know? That good old Batman.
That's all they needed to do was give each other a high five.
Right. You know? So glad we got him on our side because we're a bunch of dum-dums.
Oh. Now, we're getting to the point in, obviously, it's the end of the first season, and whenever you get to the end of any season of television, you got to start watching the bottom line and the budget and such. So things start getting cheaper and cheaper looking in terms of set design or gimmicks or devices and such. And the penguin box used to brainwash Alfred, it's just a sauna box.
I thought so. I'm like, was that used in an episode of Get Smart recently or something? Was that like just hanging on the set, just laying around and, you know, for one of those episodes where somebody got shrunk down really skinny, you know, by going in the sauna box, in the magic box.
And even for that matter, just the whole, and they're going to reuse that later on because the sauna's in this chamber and they're going to use that chamber. It looks exactly like the same chamber later on for the cliffhanger.
Mm.
You know, I mean, it's a clever use of set design and reuse and such, but it clearly screams, especially when, like, you know, earlier on we've got, you know, sweeping Batmobile chases across Gotham Park in the Joker episode, and, you know, and then suddenly you cheap out by just having this small little tight confined area where you're doing, you know, the brainwashing of Alfred.
Right. With Christmas tree lights around his head.
Yes.
Left over on his head. But I never thought about the whole scraping the bottom of the barrel of the budget by the end of the season. That must have been a reality. You're right.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, they splurged on an octopus. I mean, they had a real octopus on the set, but maybe that broke the budget right there. I don't know.
Maybe. I'll tell you, one of the things I always love, I mean, even if an episode isn't very good, and I think it's also why the third season of Batman, even though you can say there's a lot of faults with it, one thing that really always makes it worthwhile is when you do feature Alfred in a story, and he gets featured a lot in the third season. So this episode already has that going for it, is that, yay, Alfred, because he is my Alfred, as far as I'm concerned, when you look at all the Alfreds.
I was just about to ask that question, if you had a favorite Alfred, because I was watching this, looking fondly at this Alfred, and I think for me, growing up, it's kind of like Doctor Who. I guess they say your first Who is your doctor, and well, I guess with Alfred too. You know, everything always kind of compared with him whenever I saw another Alfred. Although I did often get him confused with Colonel Sanders with Kentucky Fried Chicken as a child. I used to think they were the same guy. I'm like, I guess in part-time he's selling chicken, you know, to make money off season. But yeah, he had a certain class to him, and you know, a sophistication, and which I almost thought that in the Michael Keaton Tim Burton series, who was that, Michael Go? I think it was.
Yes.
I felt almost like he was a caricature of the Alfred I knew, but I did like him. I did like Michael's take on Alfred. But you know, it's funny, none of the live action Alfreds look like the way he does in the comics.
No, never.
Yeah, I wonder what was that. I mean, the little pencil thin mustache, the receding hairline, or you know, the baldness on top and the hair on the sides that's black, not gray. You know, I wonder why that happened.
Only the animated shows ever got that.
Right, they got it accurate. Yeah.
So while the brainwashing is going on, you know, we get, you know, Batman and Robin also investigating the store, and I don't know how the hell that the commissioner managed to miss the clues that Robin and Batman find. I mean, Robin finds the caviar stuck to the wall, although, what is people flinging caviar around? I don't get that.
I know. I hope that was done for comic effect, because if they really missed that's really pathetic.
And then, of course, you know, the scrap of paper right in the middle of the floor. Well, okay, you know what, Batman? You were justified in saying that, you know, Chief O'Hara failed. So,
yeah, you're right. He is truly a dum-dum.
And they see the ad, you know, and the proprietor of the store, not a fish. Holy subliminal, Batman.
Why are they so obvious? I don't understand. They give away the answers to Batman like they want to get caught. It's so frustrating.
Well, you know, when you see Penguin doing it, it is a little like you expect it from the Riddler, because the Riddler really wants to taunt you with riddles and jokes and clues and what. But Penguin, you'd expect something more. You don't get the reason for him doing those plays on words because it doesn't make sense with him.
Right. He's very intelligent, but maybe just not that creative. Yeah, he needed to make up a name for the store. And he's like, I don't know, not a fish. Let's go with that.
Let's go with that.
Yeah. Now, how about his two sidekicks, Octopus and Shark? Were they? I found this. I mean, as far as the henchmen go,
right?
They seem like they had a much more important role in this episode than other henchmen have in the past. Do you agree with that?
I do, and in fact, actually, it's something I want to get into at the end of the episode. But just to tease it here, I feel that actually for a Penguin episode, we don't see the Penguin as much as I think we should.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I think you're right.
But we'll get into that as we get through.
We'll hold that.
Yeah, hold on to that thought. Now that they've got that clue and such, they get a call from the commissioner, and good news, Alfred has turned up. He was never kidnapped. He's back home at Wayne Manor, and everything's fine. And if everything's fine, why are the police in the background shaking hands and all congratulating themselves like they did something?
That's right. They more high fives. Yeah, we're awesome.
We're awesome.
Let's get some donuts, boys. We're awesome. We're out of here. We're leaving early today.
And here's an odd thing. I mean, Batman and Robin race back, and they're questioning Alfred about his whereabouts and what was going on.
But of course I smell fishy, sir. One does not purchase 20 pounds of caviar without retaining a certain effluvium of fish eggs. I had to hang out my morning coat to air.
But Alfred, you were reported kidnapped. Batman and I just came from the fish store where they grabbed you.
Fish store? What fish store? The one you went to purchase the caviar.
I never went to any fish store, sir. I did as I always do. Purchased it direct through the Iranian embassy. Why? Is anything the matter, sir?
Where did you get that twitch?
Get what, sir?
That twitch.
Twitch, sir? What twitch?
He knows nothing about the store. In fact, he says, I've already ordered the caviar. I get it through my usual sources through the Iranian embassy. I guess this must have been things were good in the Middle East.
I guess so. And there he is with his lies because he buys them cut rate from a barrel. So he's exposed right there.
But I like how, and this was actually a good bit there, obviously it's some form of resistance because he's got that twitch going as he's telling his lies.
Right. There's the clue. It's always a flaw. Yep. Mm-hmm. The little clues left behind for Batman and Robin to pick up on. I don't know when Batman and Robin actually realize that something is wrong. I mean, they see the twitch, but they don't really act on it.
They see the twitch, they don't act on it. They comment on it, but they don't act on it. You're right. And in that scene, Batman pulls up, the computer files of the rogues gallery of certain villains. He shows, and it's funny because the first two pictures he shows are actually producers William Dozier and Howie Horowitz.
Oh, that's who it is.
Yes.
That's awesome. I'm looking at this like, is this Batman's Facebook back in the 60s? Who are these faces? But that's great. The criminals.
and it's funny because Alfred's got this great line going, a good butler never forgets, because he's got to, get things going for the party, but he forgets who he's forgotten who the Penguin is. He's forgotten who the two criminals are. All right.
Right.
And that's fine. That could be part of the brainwashing right now. But Batman, while he's got this look on, what do you mean you forgot? He doesn't address it. He doesn't say it to Alfred. He doesn't talk about it with Robin afterwards. It's like, no, we got to get ready now for the rehearsal dinner. So it's like it's put to the side and it's never addressed again.
He's pensive and cool. He doesn't show all his cards. He has to sit there and stroke his cowl. What I found interesting in that scene is that Alfred was polishing the Batmobile when they went to the Bat computer. And Robin's there holding this massive wrench in his hand. And part of me was thinking, like, in classic television, whenever there's a mental block of forgetting things, you got to whack in the head.
Yes.
That was always the cure. I remember the whole Addams Family episode was the whole theme of it was they kept getting whacked in the head over and over and forgetting and not forgetting, forgetting and not. So I was ready for Robin to go, he seems to have forgotten the fish store. Crack! And you see the big words, now! I remember now, Mr. Wayne. But he never uses the wrench. He just kind of carries it around.
No.
Just waiting for the moment.
We cut to the rehearsal dinner, and we get, and this is what I also like about the first season, is that Bruce and Dick are not just there for the beginning and the end of the story. They play a part in these stories as well, whether they're placed in danger or whether it's, scenes to connect what's going on. So, the rehearsal dinner's going on, and we get a little history of Bruce's family.
And that is Bruce Wayne's grandfather, Mrs. Cooper?
His great-grandfather.
I understand he was tapped for skull and bones.
Tapped for it? Sir, he founded Skull and Bones.
As Aunt Harriet talks about the grandfather?
Right, I couldn't believe it. He was in Skull and Bones. You got a little conspiracy theory going on here. What's this all about? He was a founding member of it.
He was a founding member.
Dun. Yeah, he was a Yalie. And Bruce is there talking with the skipper from Gilligan's Island. I'm like, oh, skipper lost weight.
Well, I love that because it's like everybody else seems to be a little bit more formally dressed, and in comes this guy, like you said, looking like the skipper.
He's got the dark blue shirt and his skipper's hat. I'm like, who's he? What's this guy doing? He got sneakers on or something, Underdressed, man. I think he'd get escorted out.
Mm-hmm.
But I found it fascinating. They actually mentioned the grandparents because, now, you know the series better than I do. Did they ever mention the fact that his parents were killed?
In the very first episode, Bruce is talking with members of the
Justice League.
No, not the it's like this crime prevention committee that is formed, and they want Bruce to be part of it. And they've got all these ideas, and he goes, "These are all wonderful ideas. If we had ideas like this, back when I was younger, my parents would never have been killed by dastardly criminals." It's a quick get the origin in just it's at the very beginning of the episode, but it works.
Okay, no flashbacks to the shot firing and the pearl necklace flying and the angst and bitter. No, okay, just checking.
No, it's a nice capper at the end of the season because we get, like I said, we get that little bit of origin at the beginning, and we also in the second episode, if I remember correctly, Commissioner Gordon at another party is explaining to people the origin of the Batman costume and how the bat instills fear in all.
That it does. That it does.
It instills fear in some, and in others, it infers the need to kick butt.
Nothing like broad daylight seeing that bat costume coming at you. Run, children, run! Get in the car and lock the doors.
Oh, well, the party's going on, and the skipper there.
Canopy, miss?
Oh no, thank you. I have to watch my figure.
I quite understand.
How do we decide where we have dinner?
By vote, as usual, in the democratic way.
Canopy, sir?
Don't mind if I do. Hey, what's this? A fish hook.
I'm terribly sorry, sir. It must have fallen out of my morning coat.
Your morning coat?
Yes, sir. The one I wore this morning when I was preparing the canapes.
Excuse me, old boy.
Sir, please do have another. I can assure you the rest has fallen from his morning coat, the one he wore.
Yes, this morning when the penguin grabbed him. A clue, Dick. Quickly, back to the Batcave.
They start searching where this hook could have come from. And again... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, isn't that the point where they get a lawsuit? I mean, they almost feared one of their guests. I'm like... I'll sue you for your millions, Wayne. I almost spit a hook at your party. And then Alfred's like, no, have another. I'm sure there's no hook in these things.
I know. He's just offering him another one. And Bruce, instead of saying, hey, let me check on you, did you cut yours? No, he's like, I got to go.
I know. And Alfred's like, Mr. Wayne, I thought you said hookers. I'm so sorry. Speaking of which, what is with the chauvinism? I guess I kind of forgot what it was like 20, 40, 30, 40 years ago. The Miss America pageant going on in the background. I mean, it's just so sexist. I mean, I completely forgot. This whole episode is like that.
Oh, there's a lot of suggested sexual acts in this episode, which we're about to come up on one now in a moment. But and there's that whole scene with her coming out of the cake later on. That basically it's just the Millionaire Strippers Club. That's all, you know.
Exactly. I don't remember this as a child. Man.
Oh my God, yeah. But I hate the whole thing with, and they did this throughout most of the episodes, with you've got the Bat computer, one of the most, expensive pieces of equipment, probably one of the most state-of-the-art computers that could, tabulate anything and all. And what does it show you for images but drawings?
Right.
No satellite images, nothing. Drawings.
No. Little sketches. And it probably wasn't, it took some time to draw those things, too. I mean, you think you'd get some, blueprints more easily and photocopied from the township than have some artists have to draw all that stuff.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Now the Bat computer. It looks like it's a film strip in the background, It always has that microfiche feel to it,
Well, yeah, because it scrolls, and it reminds me of the Joker's Wild.
That's right, the Joker's Wild. Yeah, absolutely. A perfect name for it, too.
Yeah. But it does give them, the clue they need to find out where the Penguin's hideout is along the docks, if I remember correctly. And the Penguin is waiting. He's there and wait. I mean, he pretty much knows that at some point Batman's going to be showing up. In fact, he's got the whole place rigged up with all these umbrellas. They're closed, but they're all just sitting out there, sticking up from the floor, so to speak.
Right, which says to me, get out. I mean, you got the Penguin and a million umbrellas. Get out of there. It's a trap.
But Batman and Robin move in and
Come on, Robin.
Penguin opens them all up, and it's funny too, because as much as it is confusing for Batman and Robin, when Penguin and the crooks come running towards them, they kind of get mixed up too.
It kind of backfires a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. Not a good plan, Penguin. We ain't bounced around here.
But we get a bat fight amongst the umbrellas.
Right.
Shortly ago.
But that was, as a child, I remember waiting for the bat fight. It was like watching The Incredible Hulk, waiting for the Hulk out. Waiting for that moment to happen. It's coming any second now. The bat fight. And then my brother and I would beat each other up while the henchmen and Batman were fighting.
That's what my brother and I did. We weren't watching the fight. We were beating each other up.
Exactly. We were going pow, bam, with the pillows and getting kicked and mom, and ow. Now, this scene on the waterfront, do you recall if this is the same scene as was used, or the same setup that was used in the Batman movie, which took place on the waterfront? Do you think it's similar, or
as far as the interior set?
Well, the exterior. When I was seeing the outside, the pier, it reminded me of the scene where Batman's running around with the bomb, saying,
I'd have
never
to,
could place.
I'd have to look at it again. I mean, it very well could be. I mean, we're also talking about it's close to it's the end of the first season, and they immediately go into shooting the movie right after that.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it
could be.
It's very possible that it could be, and they had the set ready to go.
Yeah, it could very well be. I like the line when Robin said, the waterfront, that could be, there's 146 miles of waterfront. So I had to look it up. I had to just figure out, what does 146 miles actually look like? It's pretty much the whole coastline of New Jersey. I mean, just say it, I don't know where Robin got that number from, but it's a pretty long area.
Gotham
so
City
I'm glad they narrowed it. Yeah, I guess so. They the whole state. So glad they narrowed that down to figure out where the Penguin was.
Well, the two are caught, as we are at the end of the episode there, and we've had our bat fight, and Penguin, has them placed inside this vacuum chamber, and he's going to have all the oxygen removed as we go into the cliffhanger.
Can this be happening to the dynamic duo? How can they live? Will they be vanquished by a vacuum? Revive, Robin! Breathe, Batman! We'll hold our breath for you both. Until tomorrow night, same time, same channel.
But my question is this, as Batman and Robin are in there, they're strapped to, I don't know what it was they were actually strapped to, but they're held down as our goons are literally pumping. It's not even done mechanically, you know, with the machine. They're sitting there with this huge billows thing pumping the air out of the room. And
right.
Did Batman look more labored in his breathing than Robin? Robin didn't even look like he was trying to look like he was in pain.
Well, I assume Robin was dead at that point. I figured that they finally just put a bullet to him and killed him, and then Batman then wanted to torment a little bit longer because he completely looked like he was dozing off or dead, and Batman is struggling with his, you know, melodrama as best he can to fight it off. Yeah, it was a little one-sided.
But we talked about the sexual nature. I mean, and it occurred to me only now in watching this for the first time in a while, but just how sexual a scene is this as Fenella is bent over. All right, she's in her little blue outfit with her high heel boots, her blue boots. She's bent over reading the gauge. She couldn't just look down while and the positioning of it all while Penguin and his men are pumping the oxygen out with the giant billows, and it looks like it's stuck somewhere.
It does, and I never would have never noticed that as a child, but I'm watching it now, and I'm like, oh my goodness, is this on? This was on prime time, wasn't it?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, that was not unintentional.
No,
for sure.
No, because she stays in that. It's not like she looks down and then gets right back up again. She stays in that pose for a good long time.
Right, for absolutely no reason, just watching as the mercury or whatever that is that's going down, that's measuring the pressure in the room. And somewhere in the background, the cameraman and the producer and the director are hysterical laughing. So it's like, and it says, gigantic bellows or whatever. Man.
Yeah.
You know, I remember as a kid seeing in the TV guide, it said Batman, Adam West, Burt Ward, comedy. And I was like, comedy? This is drama. This is serious stuff. I'm like, there's nothing funny about this. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, man, these people were just cracking themselves up at this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, let me ask you, as someone who's also, you know, of the scientific type, shouldn't Batman and Robin have exploded?
Well, there is that problem. You if you were actually in a room where had no pressure, you sucked no pressure, you sucked all the air out, it would not be good for the body. The body would want to expand and fill up the void that was left behind by the air. So we could probably reasonably assure that they didn't actually get all the air out of the room.
Yeah.
That there was some inefficiency, probably some leaks or crevices that enabled Batman and Robin to so easily get out of this one. And their meter probably wasn't well calibrated because probably his goons did all the math on this one, or Commissioner Gordon. You know, they hired somebody. Yeah, not the brightest bulbs in the block here. Yeah. The balloons did pop though. I mean, so something was going on.
There was, there was some pressure. Well, for that matter, if this was a vacuum, should Batman have been able to talk?
Well, no, you need air to talk. So yeah right. Yeah.
I just looking at this going, this absolutely makes no sense. And then we get cheated. After all that, we get cheated because we cut to the commissioner's office and Batman and Robin. I mean, he wakes up, we see his eyes go and such. He's looking around, but it's like, it's like new scene. And Batman explains, thanks to my utility belt and, you know, the bat oxygen tank I have and my bat. We didn't see any of that. You know, we got cheated.
That was an absolute cheat. I was very disappointed. The scriptwriters should have been ashamed of themselves. There was nothing clever about how they got out. I was waiting for the moment. How's he going to do it? And I went on my belt. Mm-hmm. Like, what? Very unsatisfying. Shame on them. Shame. These big words. Shame. Lame. Weak.
Now, the episode really picks up the pace from this point on. It's funny because it's kind of a little bit of a slow start, but it really moves. And I actually enjoy the rest of this episode a lot. Batman and Robin go back to the Batcave. They're discussing the plans for the Millionaire's dinner in front of Alfred. And like you said, we never really get anything to the effect that Batman is fully aware of what's going on. But from the way this whole thing is set up, it's obvious they're setting up Alfred for something here in passing on the information about the Millionaire's dinner. Because they seem to be eyeing each other, Batman and Robin, back and forth as they're talking. And they're looking at that twitch. They see it.
Right. And Batman makes the line, he says something to the effect that we can inherently trust Alfred.
Yes.
With this emphasis on Alfred. like this isn't really Alfred. I'm like, he's not a clone. He's not an android. It's still Alfred. So this extra emphasis on the name Alfred isn't really doing much for me. But I guess he's telling the viewer at home that we don't completely trust Alfred over here. So I think, that was the clue that things are done intentionally here in front of him because they're playing him along.
Right. Yeah. And Alfred reports to, because Penguin calls Wayne Manor and, activates Alfred and gets all the information. But I like how Batman arrives at Miss Natural Resources to escort her to the party. And we see it's Fenella. She's going to be Miss Natural Resources. And I love the line where he's like,
oh, by the way, have you ever popped out of a cake before?
No, but I've been practicing.
Good. Then there should be no trouble at all. No trouble.
Have you ever popped out of a cake before? It's like, how Batman-ish is that?
That was the funniest line in the whole episode. Because what was her answer? I'm working on it.
I'm working on it. I've been practicing. I'm like,
I've been practicing. Yeah. What are you doing in your spare time? Surprise! Surprise! I ruined another box. That knocked me off my seat. I was like, no way.
And if you look at it, like we said, again, another sexual, because it's a rich man's stripper party. Fenella pops out of the cake and the men throw millions of dollars at her. Granted, she's not taking her clothes off, but, you might as well, you could just stuff a couple of $1,000s in certain areas of her gown, her outfit. It's like, God.
Yeah, that was really surprisingly sexist. I just don't remember this stuff. And they're throwing they're throwing bills at her and dollars. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, it's very weird. Very weird.
Yeah. Surprised I didn't have the Playboy bunnies there. Really, it just had that feel to it.
And Fenella pulls out, an umbrella and starts knocking everybody out with the gas.
Right, and she's fine, though.
She's fine, yep. She's fine. And so, Penguin and them make off with the money that has now been collected thanks to her, routine.
Yeah.
And we come back, and I'll tell you, one thing I do love about this episode, I don't know why, it always stuck out to me, even as a kid. I don't know, I felt like a lot of times when these girls who get swayed by the villains to do bad, it's often Batman and Robin who sway them back. In this case, it didn't seem to be that case. She went through everything. She felt bad, not because of what happened to Batman or anything. She felt bad because, as she says, she's sitting there and she's crying and Penguin's all gleeful with his money. She's like,
no, I cheated and you cheated and that's for charity, not for cheese. Oh, who's going to save our natural resources now?
Good girl. Well spoken.
The dynamic duo!
You have learned your lesson. Crime never pays.
Batman.
It can't be. We gassed you at the party.
We prepared ourselves beforehand with anti-penguin gas pills.
You beat me back at a boot, but you'll never get me alive.
No!
Right. I know. That was another great line. Who's going to protect our natural resources now? Such a shame. I'm glad the conscience finally kicked in after you gassed everybody. Or just dawned on you. Maybe this isn't moral. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
But at the same time, at least it's not just, oh my God, this is wrong because Batman's hunky. Which is what a lot of them do. She genuinely has a change of heart, and you can't help but feel for as ditzy as she is, for as sexual as they use her, you can't help but feel something for her. She suddenly becomes somebody, At least in my opinion. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
And I was glad, when I skipped to the end, her redemption came with a price. She did get taken off to jail.
Yes.
I thought they were going to say they got her out of prison somehow, and, Wayne Foundation was going to, give her a job or something. No, she just gets to go back to jail. But, they gave her a night off for a bit. So I was like, that's good.
Yeah,
there was some justice.
Yeah, no, she gets that break, and she gets to come in, and, we get one more revealing dress. Wow,
Hoist in your own evil net.
You'll pay for this!
Not before you do, Penguin. behind bars. Robin, call the police. Tell them the culprit is theirs.
Man, these people.
And who supplied the dress and the fur coat? Mr. Wayne.
No. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Oh my God. But that's the thing, that this whole episode just flows from like the last 15-20 minutes of the episode just really moves fast. It's not a lot of plot. It's just move from scene to scene, but it's all good.
It was. Yeah, it was, and I didn't remember or see it coming that they're going to switch the Miss Natural Resources and swap out. Batman doesn't know what she looks like. He wasn't paying attention to her face, apparently. He comes to the door with a corsage, like a good date would, an escort.
Yes.
And he's all gentlemanly about, oh, of course, your draft. What was I thinking? Terribly sorry. Yes, let's get out of this drafty doorway with no windows open. Okay. I'm glad you're so bright and brilliant.
Yeah. So, I mean, we come to the end of the first season and we get a Penguin episode, which, is good. We've got one of the rotating regular villains and stuff. But, and I said this earlier on, I just want to, build on this a little. If you look at it, the Penguin doesn't have a lot of screen time in this final story. He doesn't even show up for about 10 minutes into the first episode himself. He's not in the opening scene with the kidnapping of Alfred.
Right.
I mean, they've already established that Alfred doesn't seem to realize even then that the goons look strangely familiar among, Batman's villains and such. So why not have Burgess Meredith? And I have to wonder if maybe his availability and such was that, I'll do it, but we got to write around it.
Could be. I don't know. But you bring out a good point. I mean, I didn't realize it until you said it now, looking back. It wasn't he was a minor character, but he would pop in and out as needed. But other people were doing the gassing. Other people were doing his schemes for him. Mm-hmm. He's kind of sitting back and letting all the action kind of happen. So it's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, and because of that, while I like the story and stuff, I mean, it isn't a bad story. I can't say this is one of the better Penguin stories because it's a little disappointing, especially for a season ender.
Right. And I guess the season enders didn't end on a big cliffhanger, right? I mean, I guess that was every pair would always have a closure, right?
Every pair of episodes would always have some sort of a closure, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Like modern day TV shows will end their season with the cliffhanger that brings you back next fall. I guess Batman they didn't do that back then. I guess
no, they didn't do that back then. I mean, yeah. but they knew by then they were already going on to a second season. They could have done something like that. But then again, you didn't want to tie all that up because you also had the movie coming out.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm just compared to the previous episode where the Penguin had this whole scheme to rob a woman he was planning on marrying of the wedding gifts and such. I mean, it is a Penguin heavy episode. He's in a lot of scenes. This one, it just seemed a lot lighter. But I liked the story. True. I did like the story itself. Was there anything you wanted to add about the Penguin, as far as thoughts or anything like that?
About the Penguin as a
character,
as a character?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm just looking back on him with a new set of eyes, and I don't quite get him. I mean, his whole all right. So we got the penguin thing going. So he's modeled after a penguin. He's obsessed with penguins. He walks like one. He talks with a what what what. But I guess it's kind of the why. Like what about his nature makes him penguinish? I mean, the purple hat, no, the monocle, the long tip cigarette. That the fact that I guess he's wearing a tuxedo is that the whole thing, that he's somewhat proper and sophisticated, like the way a penguin wears a tuxedo. I guess I'm just kind of looking at it like, I mean, the Joker has his jokes, the Riddler has his riddles. King Tut got his whole Tut thing going, but what is it about a penguin that's dangerous, or it has to do with umbrellas? There's a lot of, I guess, extras periphery around the nature of his character that doesn't really have much to do with penguins. So I guess I just started looking back on it, going, "What's his deal?" Like I don't, I know like they don't get into Batman's origin, they're not getting into the Penguin's origin, but he's an odd character. He's a mishmash of stuff, and I guess I always liked him as a kid because he was unique. He was so different that these are the Penguin stuff: the umbrellas, the hat, the monocle. He had his list of things that made him a whole package of a character.
Right. I guess when it came to him, you know, as far as, because you're like, you know, I always latched on to the whole unusual, although this didn't happen with this particular episode, because again, he's not in it as much, but this whole thing of Penguin wanting to be accepted for his oddities, you know, for being the odd, and they really play it up in Batman Returns with, you know, with Danny DeVito playing the Penguin there, you know, because you know, we always, you know, the Penguin, the animal himself. I mean, you look at him, there's always that whole thing of people joking he looks like he's in a little tuxedo with his black and his white, you know, the way the penguins look and all that. I always latch on to that. The umbrella thing I've never understood. I mean, I just take it as an affectation, but I've never understood where the affectation came from. Yeah.
Why? Why is he carrying it around? It's not raining. What's your deal? You know, I mean, a cane, if he had a limp, I can go with that, but it's just his thing. I mean, I guess I like I said before, I do like that he has his thing going for him. You know, some people have a certain necklace that they always wear, or a certain hat. They always love cowboy hats. That's it. So he's got this thing with umbrella. He's always waiting for the rain. Any second, it could just downpour. I don't know. He's risk adverse with the rain, but I mean, he's just entertaining. I mean, I'm knocking him like shredding apart for no reason, but I always just enjoyed his mannerisms and just that he was just so different. I mean, who else would go around wah and waddling, and you know, the whole package is great. You know, I do have an affection for him as this, you know, looking back on this. But I do, the Danny DeVito one explained things to me. I was like, oh, now I get it. Okay, now I see. He's a misfit and he's got flippers and all that, you know. But
yeah, I mean, the DeVito one, he, you know, I mean, he's even got the deformities, the physical deformities.
Exactly, yeah. So that's why he made sense there. You know, they made it make sense for the audience. I was looking at his cast a bit. You know, this episode of some of the people who were in it. Well, I guess Octopus. He actually appeared in another episode. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, Victor London is Octopus, and he played Chief Standing Pat in season 3, episode 22, The Great Train Robbery.
No,
that was him.
Wow.
Yeah. He was also, I guess, maybe his most famous role was on Robinson Crusoe on Mars, where he played Friday.
Okay. And opposite Adam West.
Was that Adam West?
That was Adam West in Robinson Crusoe. No. Oh, wait a minute. Was Adam West was in the movie, but he wasn't Robinson Crusoe.
He wasn't the main character.
He wasn't the main character. No. That's
okay.
Right.
I haven't seen that in ages.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, maybe they were friends, whatever. He was also in an episode of Star Trek. He was in Errand of Mercy, the episode with the Klingons, but he's been around the block a bit. Shark, the other goon, he was played by Michael Myers, who went on to fame with Shrek. I'm joking. He was a little time travel there. I'm watching this guy the whole episode going, it's Michael Myers, come on! Do the Scottish accent.
I thought you were going to say he'd become a serial killer.
No, not that Michael Myers, no. The funny one! Julie Gregg played Fenella, and she went on to play Sandra Corleone in The Godfather.
Yep. She appears again. She's uncredited as another beauty contestant.
Well, I looked on Internet Movie Database, and they call her Miss Canary Island.
Yes.
Green Ice was the episode.
Right, the Mr. Freeze episode.
Mr. Freeze, right, exactly, yeah. So
you know, it's funny because all the other moles that they've had in the past have been very sexy, very attractive, pretty women. She, though, was the first one, and we've said it already, she exudes sex. I mean, they went out of their way to use her as a sexual object, and she does a lot of posing, a lot of, you know, the bending down, bending over. I was just like, it was obvious it was deliberate.
It was egregious, yeah. I mean, she had the Marilyn Monroe voice going on. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, she was, I guess, not her claim to fame with this episode. But one of the millionaires was played by Howard Wendell, who went on to do Deal or No Deal and Bobby's World, I guess. No?
No.
Oh, sorry, Wendell. It's a slightly different spelling. That's all
I also just wanted to, because here's another writer for this episode, Sheldon Stark, who this was his only episode of Batman. With few exceptions in the early episodes of Batman, Lorenzo Semple and Stanley Ralph Ross, they were the only early, like, regular writers you saw. Most of the other writers They did their one episode. For many of them, it was probably the only writing credit they ever had. For others, yeah, like this guy, Sheldon Stark, had done a lot of television for the 50s and 60s. And in the 70s, he wrote quite a number of the ABC after-school specials.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
He got to start with these public service announcement messages on episodes of Batman, like, careful, Robin, look both ways before you cross the street.
Yes. And he wrote for the Plastic Man cartoon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Going back to superheroes.
Now
Very cool.
Superheroes, yeah.
Hilarious.
Come along with your Uncle Hula Hula.
Good times.
All right, so Bat Gadget. Did you have a favorite in this episode?
Yeah, the bat utility knife we never saw.
That we got cheated on.
Cheat. But Batman, that's cheating. I don't like cheating. It's not right.
Yeah, that's...
Send all to the writers.
I had nothing because honestly, yeah. I mean, if I don't see it, how can I say it's a cool gadget? I don't know.
Yeah,
that was a real cheat. That was a real cheat.
What else is it? The Bat Facebook computer, the
the Bat Facebook computer,
the Bat slideshow with the artwork. Yeah, like I said, end of the season, low on the budget, not many Bat gadgets.
Wow, yeah. Now that you mention, they're even cheaper. It's like we're just telling you about things that don't even exist. That's how cheap we are. That's how bad it is with the budget.
Robin's like, did it look cool, Batman? It looked immensely cool, Robin. You should have seen it. My Bat utility knife was awesome. Blinking lights and all sorts of gears and mechanisms. But another time I'll show you.
All right, now, you are Robin the Boy Wonder. You've just watched this episode with Batman. It's over, and you turn to him and you say, holy superlative. How would you fill that blank in and then explain why?
Holy chauvinism, Batman. Sorry, that's what struck me. That's what stuck out in my mind. I don't think it needs much explanation if you watch this episode through. Like, wow. Man. 1960s fan. Men just looked at women as objects so badly. It's horrible. Sorry.
And this was really bad. I mean, it certainly wasn't, Batman is not one of the, even when you even get to finally Batgirl and all, it's not the best representation of women. But this one was just abusive in its portrayal. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I would say holy brainwash.
Holy brainwash, yeah.
I mean, this episode is great for Alfred. It's great that we get an Alfred episode. He's centered on, but it's poor for its use of Penguin and the fact that the Penguin isn't better played, that he doesn't get more scenes to chew, and because of it, it makes it not the best entry for a season-ending episode. You'd expect more.
Yeah. I left you with some little dangling plot threads there. I mean, like, how did Alfred get cured? Is he going to be under the Penguin's sway in the future? I don't recall them fixing him.
That's true.
Right? That
would make a great follow-up. I mean, which they never, obviously, because, they very, very seldom do they ever have plot threads that move on or are picked up on in future episodes. But that would have been a great one.
Would have been fun, though. Yeah. I mean, will Alfred betray his masters in the future? Will a phone call from the Penguin from prison release the nefarious... What do you call him? I can't think of a good word. Avian. I don't know. I can't think of a good word that starts with P. I can't alliterate like Penguin can. Right. Sorry. Yeah, and I also kind of wondered why the Penguin didn't react when he saw that Batman and Robin were alive again. Like, didn't he think they were dead in the vacuum room?
Yeah, he even gave him a salute as he left.
Yeah, and then there they are alive again. He didn't go, wah, they're back,
Yeah,
so maybe he had a little knockout gas or something.
It seems like, and Bob Greenberger mentioned this in the last episode about how there were certain shortcuts in the writing, and it seems like this one really starts to abuse those shortcuts.
Yeah. No, I got a limited amount of time, that's what happens.
Right. The trivia, I always give a trivia question from the official Batman Batbook by Joel Eisner, and this one should be really easy because we actually kind of covered it in the episode. Where does Alfred normally get his caviar?
Oh, Iraq, right? Or Iran, right. Persia. Right, the embassy, that's right, yeah. Because they sell caviar at the embassy, of course, right. In barrels.
By the pound, so this way you get 1 pound per person. Wow.
Oh, that's hysterical.
So, as we come to the end of this episode of the Batcave podcast, Mike, I mean, I don't know how you feel about stalkers and such, but if people wanted to get in touch with you and talk about Batman or Spider-Man for that matter, I mean, I know, are you still doing like any freelance work with Marvel Comics?
The official handbooks have been, on hiatus for the last year or two. We kind of did so many characters and so much work that, they said, let's go on pause for a while. So there's some random gigs I get here and there where we'll be asked to do something or put some information together or do a little research. We'll put together trade paperbacks and say, can you pick some good issues to fill up a good trade? So I do some random things like that. But, when the next handbook will come out, we're not sure. There's nothing on the schedule right now, though. But if people want to get in touch with me, they're welcome to. It's at nofish at, not a fish, at the docs.com. No. You can email me at spidermike@gmail.com. That's my nom de guerre.
You don't do the Twitter, do you?
I don't twit. I have an account that I opened, I think, when you started Twitter, and I joined at the same time. I never use it. No, I don't have much to say during the day. That's nothing. I need to be more spontaneous, I guess. I don't know. But I'll use the back computer sometimes, and post on Facebook. But you can get in touch with me on Facebook as well.
All right. Well.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thanks for having me on, John. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Mike. I really do appreciate it. That's going to do it then for this episode of the Batcave podcast, folks. Next time around, we're going to go into a weekly mode for the next couple of weeks because we're now in between seasons. I thought we'd do something a little special next week.
Next week, a repeat of the very first Batman broadcast, the show which gave television a big breath of fresh air. If you missed it then, don't miss it next week.
I'm going to release the pilot episode of the Batcave podcast that never got online. Dayton Ward joined me to produce an episode of the podcast based on just the first part of the Riddler's premiere with High Diddle Riddle. And we're going to run that. I wasn't happy with it when I first produced it, so we went and actually did another podcast, and in which case it was like the whole, like we do now, the whole thing in a 1 hour chunk. But this is just the first one because my original plan was to actually break it up into 2 parts as with the Batman series. So that's going to be next week. The week after that, it's our review of Batman the movie, and I've got a cast of characters from past episodes of the Batcave joining us for a roundtable discussion and helping me break it down. The week after that, I'm going to feature an interview with writer and editor Jim Beard. He's been on the podcast before. He's the editor of the collection of essays on Batman called Gotham City 14 Miles. We're going to go into, his collection of essays in more depth, and we're going to talk about the series in general. And we're also going to talk about the sequel he's working on to that collection. And then finally, we'll do a season 1 overview episode, which will be followed by the start of the second season reviews. There is so much happening in the weeks ahead. Make sure you stay tuned, citizens. So until next time, Michael, once again, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And until then, take care, chums. See you soon. Thanks for listening, chums. I don't have a bat phone, but you can contact the Batcave podcast through its Facebook page, Twitter, email at thebatcavepodcast@gmail.com, or by phone at 888-866-9010. Subscribe to the podcast via libsyn.com, that's LIBSYN.com, or through iTunes. The Batcave podcast is part of a series of pop culture podcasts from the Chronic Rift Network. Find them at chronicrift.com. So until next time, citizens, same bat time, same Batcave podcast.
Alfred!
Oh, may I have some of that, please?
Oh.
Thank you. Isn't this a lovely party?
Yes, isn't it? Oh, I do hope all that money will be safe this time.
You may rest assured, madam, now that the penguin is in the pen, Mr. Wayne says that the award dinner will proceed in complete safety.
No, I don't know any more about it than what was in the newspapers. Just that Batman and Robin came to the rescue.
And in the nick of time, if I may say so, Master dear.
Excuse me, will you?
I shudder when I think what might have been.
Now, it's not your fault, Alfred.
Oh, but it was. Allowing myself to be brainwashed by that perfidious penguin. What? I gave away the whole plot.
Au contraire, Alfred. Without you, Batman would have never succeeded.
Sir, you mean you knew that I was brainwashed?
We certainly did. That's why Batman made sure that you had the information so that you in turn could pass it on to Penguin.
We were all prepared, Alfred. Even to pretending to be unconscious when Vanilla popped out of the cake and used the gas umbrella.
And speaking of Miss Vanilla...
I see that you got my invitation, but I never thought that you could make it.
I brought it on for the party myself.
I'm so happy to be here. And, oh, thank you for the coat. I don't deserve it.
But we millionaires decided that you do. After all, did you not assist Batman and Robin in capturing the...
Please, don't mention his name. When I think that I almost helped him get away with all those millions.
Almost, but not quite, little lady. That's why we managed to get permission for you to come here.
That Batman, such a wonderful person. Mr. Wayne, do you think that I'll ever get to see him again?
Who knows, my dear? Perhaps someday you may. Now, may I help you with your wrap?
Oh.
It's all right. You're among friends here. Dick. Well, someday when you've paid your debt to society, you may be released from prison not only for one day, but forever.
Oh,